What is up, guys? That's it here with another edition of the Sanctuary Sunday. Today we're going to learn why Jere Harash is not only the namesake of a random rift that you're doing, but also an important figure in Diablo history. Years became decades and then centuries, leading to millennia of time elapsed. Generations of Nephalem, even with the remarkably long lives they were said to have possessed, passed away. With each generation, those events which might have been truth turned to legend, eventually settling into myth. The angels and demons faded from consciousness. The Nephilim themselves slowly became mere mortals, not unlike ourselves. Humankind began to populate the world. As with its Nephilim ancestors, humanity set about building cities of its own and collecting knowledge from the far corners of Sanctuary. Various texts recount that the druidic followers of Vizjerei retreated into the northern forests of Skosglan, where they formed centers of learning to achieve harmony with the natural world. Elsewhere, priests from the cult of Rathma observed their esoteric rites within a vast subterranean city beneath the eastern jungles. Powerful covens of Esu witches strove to attune themselves to the world's elemental forces in their pursuit of what they deemed perfect magic. Numerous exotic religious systems also flourished during this period. The mystic Ta'an mage clan and the superstitious Skatsimi cult practiced their beliefs in hidden temples throughout the East. All across Sanctuary, evolving cultures and civilizations formed and embraced their own explanations for the universe and its mysteries, giving rise to two divergent views: mysticism and faith. In its simplest terms, mysticism is man's study of science and magic, the seen and unseen forces which shape the world around us. Even more than that, the root of mysticism is man's desire to become the master of his own destiny. Counter to this is faith, the view that man must put his trust in powers beyond mortal understanding to determine his faith and establish ethical and moral guidelines to live by. The clash between these ideologies is at the core of humankind's existence. It has shaped Sanctuary's history in profound and irrevocable ways, and Cain believes it will continue to do so for as long as humans walk the world. As proof, we need only look to the beginning of recorded history, which was ignited by a surge in mysticism. Magic, in all its forms, was studied and formalized into distinct schools and disciplines. In Kejan, which is now Kyrgyzstan, these schools evolved into mage clans, the most prominent of which were the Vizjerei, the Ennead, and the Amulet. The Vizjerei we will discuss later. The Ennead was a school that focused on enchantments and transmutation of matter. Its members used practical application to affect the world around them, while the Amulet clan dabbled in illusion and strove to manipulate reality and our perception of it. It is important to note that not all members of the mage clans were sorcerers. The clans were ethnically and culturally distinct societies, with their own laws, customs, artisans, and merchants. Beyond that, each clan was defined by its adherence to a particular school of magic. While only the mage caste studied this vocation, each clan's discipline nonetheless pervaded all corners of society, evidencing itself in things such as art and regional vernacular. The burgeoning power of the mage clans made their involvement in Kejan's ruling affairs inevitable. The Al-Rakish, or Mage Council, an organization boasting members from each of the major clans, was formed to rule alongside the kingdom's monarchy and its powerful guilds. The council's leadership rotated to a different clan representative every new moon. Despite the violent feuds and deep-seated prejudice that appears to have existed among the clans, the council thrived for generations. Cain recalls accounts that eventually the head members of the kingdom's royal line became little more than puppet rulers. True power resided within the mage clans. Sadly, this era of relative peace and stability was not to last. Man's desire to plumb the secrets of the world and the unseen realms beyond it would soon lead to calamity. The Vizjerei were convinced that spirits dwelled on sanctuary and in places outside the physical world. While the clan's sorcerers could not directly commune with these entities, they believed contact was possible. Thus, the driving goal of the Vizjerei became to perfect the arts of conjuring and summoning spirits. For years, the clan conducted experiments and carried out empirical research into the practices of druids and necromancers, both of which successfully contacted spirits in their own way. Yet for all of the combined intellect and dedication of the Vizjerei mages, they could hear only a whisper of the beings they sought. Everything changed with one unassuming Vizjerei sorcerer named Jere Harash. The following account of Harash's life is taken from the personal journals of Dumal Lunash, who wrote extensively on the earlier periods of the Vizjerei. Jere Harash was a most forgettable member of the Vizjerei sorcerers. As a young acolyte, he aspired to one day represent his clan on the Mage Council, but he was always outshined by his more talented peers. His growing frustrations came to a head when his parents and sister were killed during a short-lived feud between the Vizjerei and Amulet clans. As his heart roiled with anger and rage at the tragedy, Harash reached out to the spirits and made contact, succeeding where so many of his fellow sorcerers had failed. Yet the entity he summoned into our world was one neither he nor the other Vizjerei could have ever fathomed, a demon of pure hatred and malice. And with that, the once ineffectual Jere Harash was etched into the annals of history forever. It is interesting that this excerpt does not match the public records, some even written by Lunash himself, of Harash. These describe Harash as having been a young boy who gleaned insight into summoning from a dream. Even the being he contacted was referred to as Spirit of the Dead. Whether the Vizjerei originally knew that the summoned being was a demon is unclear, but Kane has no doubt they believed it was something more than an ancestor's spirit. From his research, Kane has found that the Vizjerei worked feverishly to mask the truth of what has been discovered, even going so far as to write false histories of Harash and some of their early interactions with the dead. Harash's success, in reality, hinged on the dark emotions he was feeling at the time. Perhaps his anger and rage somehow attuned him to one of the Burning Hells' realms. Whatever the root cause, Harash quickly recognized the perils of the murderous creature he had summoned. After restraining it with binding spells, he informed the Vizjerei elders of his discovery. It is of utmost importance to note that at the moment of Harash's breakthrough, the prime evils of the Burning Hells became aware of Sanctuary's existence for the first time. This was, of course, unknown to the Vizjerei. Even after the demon had been summoned, there was much controversy among them concerning the new art Harash had discovered. Some of the sorcerers feared that these dangerous entities could not be fully controlled and posed a threat to the entire world. The one thing the clan members all agreed upon was that the existence of demons should be kept secret. This explains their retelling of Harash's discovery and their willingness to adopt the lie that they were merely communing with spirits of the dead. By doing so, the clan could claim innocence of any wrongdoing should the powers it was experimenting with lead to disaster. So successful were they in this farce that the Vizjerei eventually became known as the Spirit Clan. The Vizjerei eventually grew confident that if they could control one demon, they could control others. The clan's sorcerers set about summoning more and more of the Burning Hell's minions into Sanctuary for short periods. While the clan had no intentions of using the demons as weapons, the mages concluded that there was much to be learned from these creatures about the universe and new forms of magic. Alas, as we have witnessed so many times throughout history, humankind's insatiable greed and lust for power took hold of the Vizjerei. Once having tasted of forbidding demonic powers, the clan decided that, with its newfound abilities, it could enslave Hell's denizens and use them to dominate not only Kejan, but the entire world as well. It is reported that the other mage clans, through their own sources, learned of something mysterious and sinister taking place within the Vizjerei's ranks. What actions were taken by the other clans in light of this intelligence remains unknown. The one consequence it appears no mage had considered was that once summoned, the demons would return to the burning hells with tales of our strange race. It did not take the primevals long to see the potential in mortals. They sensed within humanity the dormant power of the Nephalem, a way to tip the scales of the eternal conflict. As such, they resolved to subtly corrupt human beings and turn their latent powers against the high heavens. With humankind under demonic influence, the Primes would have at their command a loyal and unfathomably powerful army. So it was that Diablo, Mephisto and Baal cast their influence upon mortal minds, spreading their twisted ideas far across Sanctuary. Their whispers led to the formation of the Triune, a seemingly altruistic religion that worshipped three benevolent spirits. In truth, these were representations of the prime evils themselves. Dialon, the spirit of determination, was Diablo. Mephis, the spirit of love, was Mephisto. And Bala, the spirit of creation, was Baal. It is ironic that the prime evil's guises embodied traits that were in direct opposition to their actual qualities of terror, hatred, and destruction. The popularity of the religion grew rapidly, and before long, a large percentage of ancient Kejan's populace had flocked to the Triune. The rank-and-file members of the church, of course, did not realize that their patron spirits were the lords of the burning hells. Key to the Prime's deception was that the Triune falsely stood for the principles of unity and humankind's innate power. The religion constructed a magnificent grand temple in Kejan. The sprawling triangular edifice boasted 3 high towers, each of which was dedicated to one of the Triune's spirits. The organization was so devoted to giving the impression of being a peaceful group that it even referred to the temple's warriors as peace warders. Only the highest-ranking members of the Triune knew the truth. Behind the facade of determination, love, and creation was a vile cult which practiced all manner of demonic rituals. It was known to lure in unsuspecting initiates and practice fiendish acts of torture on them for the perverse thrill of its true primeval masters. With these horrors in mind, it should come as no surprise that the religion was led by none other than Lucian, the son of Mephisto. The Triune's rapid growth perplexed the mage clans and other institutions that had, until then, held an uncontested sway over Kejan's populace. From accounts from the era, it seems that these groups believed the Triune to be nothing more than a passing fancy. Therefore, they simply stood by as more and more victims were lured into the jaws of Prime Evil's false religion. As a final note, one might ask whether Diablo, Mephisto and Baal knew the truth concerning humanity's divine parentage. That remains unknown, but it was discovered that the prime evils made a point of keeping Sanctuary's existence a secret from as many of their lesser brethren as they could. This lack of trust would sour the relations among the lords of the burning hells, and led in some part to the dark exile. And thus ends this week's Sanctuary Sunday. I hope you enjoyed the tale of Jere Harash and the Vizjerei, and if you did, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel. You can also watch me live at twitch.tv/TheDeadSet, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I link below, and I'll see you guys next time.